Greetings from the mountains of Colombia. My name is J Weiskopf. The name of the series is Ayahuasca Express. Michael, I did emphasize this in this little essay I wrote. I wrote that is multi-sensorial and supra-sensorial. In fact, I'm not a very good seer or visionary. I think you're absolutely right. Sound, imaginings, feelings in the sense of perceiving, touching things that are not solid, but you're touching them. Nevertheless, a kind of connection with the forest and all that. I absolutely agree. But leaving that aside, it's a fascinating subject, but I'm with you all the way. And to cut this short, one last subject, a bit scandalous, but what the hell. Let's have some fun. Now let's talk about the two idols of ayahuascology, Western ayahuascology, Schultes and Reichl. Now, I'll throw out two things for you. I remember very well, we were in your country place in upstate New York, not upstate New York, what is it, mid-New York. And we were coming back on the bus, and you told me this story of Schultes gave a lecture, and he showed like the chemical formula, and he said, that is the God of the Indians. And that really stopped me. I have not forgotten that. I've not forgotten that. I think it was when we arrived at the Port Authority terminal. I was thinking, what's this? Schultes is the great God. Well, someone who knew Schultes told me that he didn't even know what visions were. Someone asked him, he didn't understand it. But the other thing is Reichl. Now, it's very hard to assess the guy because in terms of observation and annotation, the guy was a maestro. I mean, his book on the Sierra Nevada, people of Aracataca, I mean, it's such a detailed account. Every pot, every spoon, every blade of grass. But I have found him too reductive. First, the Freudianism that I don't like. And secondly, a kind of materialism, a kind of subtle Marxism, because he was actually a Nazi. So I just like to have your opinion on these two grand. They're great men. I mean, whether you can criticize them at the same time recognize their stature. Okay, it's over to you.
Well, first of all, Schultes, the story, I should elaborate it a little. This was in a darkened old lecture theatre full of people, students, largely undergraduates, and he showed slides, and he came across as a sort of overgrown Boy Scout. There was pictures of him in southern Mexico, and he's starting off interested in ethnomedicine, ethnobotany. And then it shifts to his travels in the, I think it's Valpes area of the Colombian Amazon. And he shows some indigenous men with their eyes very glassy and their faces covered with saliva and spume, looking sort of not the way you'd like yourself presented, let's put it that way. And so the audience is like sitting on the edge of its seat, seeing these horrific indigenous savage faces. And then Schultes goes on and says, well, they call this plant or mixture of plants their God, but I'll show you what their God is. And then he appeared, next image was on the classic sky blue background for biochemistry, benzene ring with a few oxygen and hydrogen radicals tucked out on different sides. He says, that is their God. Now, what I thought was so devastating was that that's Schultes' God. That's the point you didn't mention. So that's his God, the biochemistry thing. I got up and walked out at that point. I thought this is total bullshit. I find it very strange, the adulation of Schultes in Colombia. I think it sort of must be a upper middle class thing about the overgrown Boy Scout, trooping up and down the Amazon, looking for plants that ultimately, will part of the U.S. war effort, transplanting rubber, looking for the right rubber plants to start off plantations in Central America, and then looking hopefully for drugs to plants that would be helpful in medicine and cancer and all of that sort of stuff.